I love a good action movie. There's something about seeing bad guys getting brutally beaten to a pulp that's just, oh, so satisfying. But fighting people in real life doesn't look like this. It looks like this. And if you really want to fight someone, you need to look like this. But I don't look like this. I look like this. But what I can do is virtually beat someone to a pulp in the world of video games. Nope. Wrong game. Sifu is the topic of today's video. The indie developer studio Slowclap has developed something amazing here. With its sensational animation, beautiful art style, and simplistic story, Sifu is an easy contender for Indie Game of the Year. It takes mechanics from beat-em-ups in the days of old and transforms them into a modern but still challenging beat-em-up style game.
Story.
The story of Sifu is not its strongest aspect, but that's kind of why I want to start with it first. You play as the main character. Yes, there's no name for the protagonist. You are literally the protagonist. They went full on Tenet for this game. The story can be summed up as a classic revenge plot. It begins with your Sifu being killed by 5 previous students. From there, you can choose to play as a girl or a boy, and after making your selection, you are killed and the game ends. Nah, just kidding. You are brought back to life by the Talisman, which is a game mechanic I will get into later. You are then thrown into an iconic, classic training montage where the main character shows off their flashy moves and strategies to kill all 5 bosses. Although the story isn't its strongest aspect, each level does make references to other great kung fu movies. As an example, the intro could be a reference to Jackie Chan's movie, Snakes and Cranes, Arts of Shaolin. The first level is reminiscent of The Raid, and of course, the obvious one, Old Boy. Bosses are also references to movies, but I can't talk about them right now because I'm still in the character section of the video.
Characters.
There isn't much to say about the main character besides that he or she is you. The martial arts the protagonist practices is Pak Mei. If you've seen videos talking about this style of martial arts, you can easily tell it's perfect for a video game. It's flashy and stylish and looks good with the right choreography. Also, because the protagonist is such a blank slate, I have to give credit to the modding community for Sifu. The modding community has made tons of different skins and outfits to change the look of the main character. There are outfits as cool as Neo from The Matrix, Ip Man, Batman from Batman, and Ryu from Street Fighter. There were also some wild ones like Tifa, Mulan, motherfucking Shaggy, and oh my god, Among Us from Sus? Cut away.
What?
I said cut away! Fajar is very reminiscent of Prosco from The Raid 2. If you look close enough, the beard and machete kinda give it away. Because he is on the first level, I found that he was the easiest boss to master. In the first phase, his moves mainly consist of high attacks with the occasional mid and sweep. In the second, he whips out his iconic machete, and the level changes to a jungle-like arena, but his attacks mainly stay the same. Only if you try to deflect his machete, you take damage. The squats as a level is very much inspired by movies like The Raid and Old Boy, which I haven't seen yet, I'm really sorry. From the environment, down to the outfits, and even the camera angles, the inspiration is obvious. Sean is considered the first skill check the game throws at you. He's fast and aggressive, and the only way to beat him is to learn the rhythm of his attacks, which you can deflect and parry. If you made it up to this point using the dash dodge, then expect the fight to go something like this. Also, I should mention that each level has its own element as a theme. Fajar represents plants, I think. Sean represents fire, Kuroki embodies water, and Jinfang represents earth and metal. Again, I'll get to them later. I'm not really sure what movie reference Sean is from, but the club is definitely a reference to the first John Wick film. I think. If you thought Sean was the hardest boss in Sifu, Kuroki is coming at you like,
Honey, you've got a big storm coming.
But personally, I think Kuroki is the best boss in the game. Not only does her level have tough rooms to clear, but she also has the hardest attack pattern that could rival Yang's. This boss does not fuck around. She attacks you with a mix of highs and lows and a couple of overheads. I know there are a couple of cheese strats you can learn to beat her, but only a true Chad will learn her attack pattern and dodge every move, like me. Holy shit, dude! This is really bad. But this only applies to the first phase. In the second phase, Kuroki kind of becomes a pushover, only attacking high and occasionally throwing kunais at you. As for movie references, Kuroki is definitely reminiscent of O-Ren Ishii from Tarantino's Kill Bill. Jin Fang is probably the weakest boss in the game. In terms of boss fight, she's a bit of a pushover, having easily telegraphed highs and lows. It's really just double high, followed by a sweep, then rush in and punish. But her level is definitely the hardest section of the game, throwing high-tier grunts at you in multiple rooms. In my many attempts at no-death runs, the tower and Kuroki's boss fights are definitely the run killers. As for movie references, I don't think I'm movie cultured enough to find any in this level. Last but not least, we have Yang, located in the Sanctuary. What's cool about this area is that it is a huge parallel from where we started in the game. At the beginning of Sifu, we started at the lowest point, the squats or the slums that's filled with junkies, drug peddlers, and crime. In the Sanctuary, you are high up in the mountains in a civil and welcoming rehab facility. The level itself is shorter than the tower, but that doesn't mean it's not as hard. On the way to Yang, you have to climb up a metaphorical mountain staircase with 3 different mini-bosses. Finally, when you get to Yang, prepare your butt cheeks because Yang's about to tear that ass up. Ooh, what the fuck? Yang is basically a mirrored version of yourself. He has all your movesets and can probably move faster than you because you're just a dumb younger brother, and Yang is the cool older brother that everyone loves and appreciates. God, are we done with the character section?
Yeah, we're done.
Yeah, we're done?
Yeah.
Okay, finally. Thank fucking God. Gee.
Gameplay.
Finally, the meat of Sifu. So, just how good is Sifu's gameplay? Well, it's... pretty good. I like it a lot. The best way to describe Sifu's gameplay is that it's an improvement over the combat mechanics that the Arkham series originated, mixed with Sekiro's posture break. It's hit the bad guy until triangle and circle appear over their head, or Y and B if you're on Xbox, and you get this cool animation. Wow, so cool. So, in the Arkham games, also I should say before I bash on the Arkham games, I really like them a lot. Arkham Knight is my favorite despite the Bat Tank. You would see the notification of a person attacking. Uh-oh, big scary man is swinging at me. And the options you had was either dodge the attack or counter his ass. And depending on the enemy type, you most likely hit that sweet ass triangle button to counter him. What I'm saying is that the game straight up told you that this person was attacking by giving you this notification plus slowing down the enemy's attack. But Sifu improves on this mechanic by removing the Batman sense and just having you see the attack and react accordingly. You see this guy? That's me. You see this other guy? That's the bad guy trying to give me the good old 1-2 to the noggin. But I see this attack, and if I think fast enough, I can figure out my options. I can either A, just straight up parry his ass if I get the timing right, B, take the safe route and duck his attack, C, fuck up the parry timing, or D, duck his attack, and follow up with a push move to get him away. And of course, in this situation, because I'm so good at the game, I went with C. Oh, shit. My point is, if you can get past the learning curve in Sifu, the combat becomes very unrestricted and satisfying. You can almost get into this zen-like state, where you're dodging attacks, parrying and catching whatever enemies throw at you. You can technically do the same thing in Arkham games, but what makes Sifu different is that it gives you combos to use. It gives you options, not just square to attack and triangle to counter. Yeah, they give you gadgets during the fight, but you can get by just fine without them. There's just something so satisfying about clearing a room full of guys and looking around to see your work of destruction lay out before you. However, I understand that some people may not want to take the time to learn the mechanics, because a huge part of the learning curve is figuring out the enemy's moves and types of attacks they throw at you. So here, I present to you a food chain for all the enemies in Sifu that I roughly made in Photoshop. Hey, did you make the food chain thing?
Food chain?
The food chain for Sifu?
Oh, no, I didn't.
No, you didn't?
No.
Why the fuck didn't you? The main selling mechanic of Sifu is dying. When you're defeated, you are given an option to rise or respawn. However, I think this mechanic slightly hinders the game. Just let me explain. When you die to a boss, you can pick out a new move and your character gets stronger. But the boss's posture and health stays the same. So therefore, you can die to a boss a whole bunch of times and still eventually beat him. Maybe I'm just a masochist?
Masochist.
Whatever. I think there should be more of a punishment for dying. Not something like restarting from the nearest shrine like that one game. What was it called again? Fuck. Something Souls? Star Wars. Yeah, love that game. But the punishment should be something small, like the boss's posture slightly goes down, or he or she gets more health back. Just something small like that.
Conclusion.
After improving mechanics and learning their mistakes from Absolver, Slow Clap Studios has made something amazing here. Sifu is one of those gems that you can't afford to miss. It makes me hopeful that another game like this will come out in the future, but with more playable characters and fighting styles. Imagine a game like Sifu, but with characters like Axel Stone and Cherry Hunter from Streets of Rage. That would be insane. If you take the time to learn the mechanics and attack patterns of the enemies, you will start to think like an actual Kung Fu master. You will see all the different and fastest ways to defeat and conquer your enemies. It makes you feel like a Kung Fu master. It makes you feel like Ip Man. It makes you feel like the raid protagonist. There are only 5 levels in Sifu, so in theory, you can technically beat the game in a day or two. But I believe Slow Clap Studios don't want you to just beat their game. They want you to master it, to beat the game as young as possible. They want you to become a Sifu. Fucking end the video already. Sorry.